Happening right now, returning to the immigration arrests being carried out across the country. This morning, we have seen some arrests happening here in New York City with immigration enforcement. Targeted arrest at accused gang members. The NYPD involved in the arrest this morning amongst several other agencies.
And if you're paying close attention, you know that it's just a snapshot of the thousands of arrests that are being carried out all across the country. And it has led to a lot of fear for people in immigrant communities specifically.
All right, so we're listening to people talking, and that's why we have the executive director of the ACLU of New Jersey here to talk more about this. So Amol Sinha is here. Amol, thank you very much for joining us. I hope I said it correctly. If I didn't, please correct me. All right, thank you. This is Sam, by the way. So you're in New Jersey, and we reported on the immigration activity in cities like Newark and Paterson even. So I can only imagine how stressful that might be for a lot of families, but what are you hearing from the communities?
We're hearing the fear that the Trump administration and others have been sowing in these communities. We're hearing about increased ICE presence across communities in New Jersey. And of course, in Newark, what we saw was a raid where allegedly 3 people were arrested and communities were paranoid and panicked about what to do next. We think that there's going to be an increase in activity and an increase of raids happening throughout our communities, and people should be prepared.
It appears as if, especially communities like sanctuary cities like here in New York, people are bracing themselves and they're very curious to know what their rights are. So whether you're legal or not legal, what do you need to have on you? Because I know that people are being asked for ID to submit some kind of ID. So what can you say to those folks?
If you're a U.S. citizen, you don't need to carry proof of citizenship in the United States. However, if you are an immigrant and you have valid immigration documents and you're over the age of 18, folks should be carrying documentation of that. If you're undocumented, of course, you may not have any papers, but it's important to make sure that you're not carrying or providing anybody with anything fraudulent. So it's crucial that folks know where they stand and have the appropriate documentation if they have it. And if they don't, they should know their rights otherwise, including if they are approached by ICE, they should ask, am I free to go? And if ICE says yes, they can calmly walk away. If they are under arrest, they should demand an attorney and then tell ICE that they're going to remain silent and say nothing else happens.
It's important. I'm so glad you said that because it was outside the question, but it was so important. So is a driver's license, because I don't know. If someone asks for my ID and I hand them a driver's license, is that proof? Is it okay? Can I then say, can I go? Is that enough?
Yeah.
It's proof of who you are, but driver's licenses may not prove citizenship because in New Jersey, permanent residents and undocumented people alike can get driver's licenses.
Okay.
And so it's important to note that as well.
What are some other things that people need to be mindful of?
Look, I think what people need to be doing across communities across the United States is encouraging their lawmakers to pass laws that would protect their communities. In New Jersey, we have something called the Immigrant Trust Act that would help protect communities. In New York, there's New York for All. So there are things that we could be doing to hold our lawmakers accountable. And lawmakers across the state and across the region should be taking their cues from Mayor Baraka of Newark, who stood up and spoke out when he saw activity happening in their communities. Another thing that folks should know is that if ICE does not have a warrant, they don't have the authority to enter. And so if you are being approached by ICE and they say that they don't have a warrant or they can't prove that they have one, what folks can do is refuse entry. And that includes homes and businesses and schools and other places alike. Another thing.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
One last thing that I'll mention is that the Trump administration has been trying to sow chaos and fear. They don't want people to go to school. They want people to be afraid of going to work. They want people afraid of seeking emergency help if they need it. The sensitive locations policy, which protected schools and churches and hospitals, Trump is undermining that. And so what we're going to see now is potential raids in those locations as well. So I'm fearful of things like that happening, but it's all the more important that people know their rights.
Amol, we are already over our time, but I just have one more thing to ask you because I think this is so important to our audience, and that is this administration says they're going after criminals. Is there anyone, maybe your organization or another, that is actually checking how many of these people who are detained or how many people are taken aside and deported actually have criminal records? Is there anyone running these numbers?
First of all, there probably is an organization out there that is tracking who's being arrested and who's not. But what I can say is that ICE casts a broad net. What ends up happening so often are sweeps where people, like in Newark, allegedly U.S. citizens were detained and questioned. And so there are things happening that we should all find problematic and hold ICE accountable.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Amol Sinha has spoken. Thank you for the clarity. We really appreciate it.